what does success look like for you at the start of 2026? I just got back from a couple of weeks out in Croatia. Lots going on in life and business at the moment, launching an accelerator, so completely new product line to the business, which we had to build out. We've completely refined our IP. So we've also come to a point where I've actually reached capacity in the existing team as well. If you had 10K to spend on growing a business, where would you put it? I wouldn't spend it on like ads or hiring anyone. Best investment you can make is Yes guys, welcome back to the podcast solo episode today of Success Clues. I'm going to be running you through something called the 12-week year, which is how I plan my calendar and my to-do list every quarter to make sure I get more done in one quarter than all of my competitors do in a year. I'm going to show you exactly how I build it so that you can go away and build it for yourselves and go away and smash Q4 or whatever quarter is coming up for you. Also going to be running through a few life updates, things that are going on in my life and the business, a couple of questions that you guys have sent in, and some quick fires as well that we'll run through. If you're new here, I'm Sam. I run a 7-figure agency called Croatia, and we help founders, execs, entrepreneurs build their personal brands. And this podcast really is all about sharing the frameworks, the ideas, the strategies that the top 1% use to succeed in all areas of life. Because I've realized over the years that the fastest way to achieve a goal is by speaking to people who have already achieved it. Right? Success leaves clues, and smart people learn from others. Most people learn from their own mistakes, and stupid people, well, they've already got all of the answers. So if you want more content like this, you enjoy the episode, make sure you hit subscribe, because we've got lots more episodes like these, solo ones, and some amazing guests coming up as well. Before we jump in, I want to give a huge shout out to Stripe, who sponsor this podcast. Now, I actually approached Stripe to sponsor the podcast because I'm such a big fan of the tool they've built. Stripe is an all-in-one LinkedIn content assistant that will even build your strategy for you. It's like having a strategist, a content writer, and an analyst in your pocket. And I use it to save 10 hours every week when I'm creating content. First, I review my content performance using their in-depth analytics, which neatly show me what content types are performing the best. Then I use their inspiration feature to find viral posts from other creators to inspire my own. Whenever I have ideas, I upload recordings of calls I've had with my team, personal voice notes, or even YouTube videos I've created. And this is where Stripe is worth its weight in gold. It's analyzed all of my previous content to get my tone down to a T. And it then uses the sources I share to write engaging and optimized content. And for just £1.16 a day, it really is a no-brainer. Click the link in the show notes and use the code KUROGO25 for $25 off your first month. That's KUROGO25. So, as I said, lots going on in life and business at the moment. Just got back from a couple of weeks out in Croatia, partly work, partly just spending time with my partner. It's been a very, very busy summer, lots going on in the business, so I've not really taken any time off whatsoever. So it was a good time just to slow down a little bit before we head into Q4 as I record this, because I really want to attack Q4 and give it a lot. I think it's a big quarter for every business. Most people are like winding down at this point, especially as we head into like late November, December, but I think it's the best time to just accelerate. So made sure I got some time away so that I could kind of reset and attack Q4. Lots going on over the summer, a few things that we're working on, obviously launching an accelerator. So it's a completely new product line to the business. Actually, when this goes live, it will have already launched. Completely new product line to the business, which we had to build out. We've completely refined our IP, so we have a new model or an updated model, a way of working with our clients. The reason we did that is it ensures that as we grow the business and we expand our product offering, everything is aligned. Like whether someone's coming in through an accelerator program, whether they're on a done-for-you service, whether they're on ad hoc consultancy, we're all following the same model. Makes the business much more scalable, far easier to train team, ensures a consistent client experience. So spend a lot of time refining our IP, obviously planning, recording videos, prepping an entirely new accelerator, marketing it, selling it. So that's taken up a lot of time. We've also come to a point where I've actually reached capacity in the existing team as well on the agency side of the business. So for those that don't know, Croatia has an agency side to the business and an education side. Agency being we work with typically very busy founders, execs, and we build their personal brand for them. So we'll build their strategy, produce their content, etc. And then the education side is for those that truthfully might not be able to afford the agency side or want to do it themselves, and we will give them all of the tools and the knowledge that they need to go away and run that themselves. And the accelerator fits under that. So we've actually hit capacity on the agency side, which currently is the main part of the business. So we're also looking at hiring new team members. We've promoted a few people internally. So I think there's 3 promotions that have happened internally. We'll be hiring 5 new team members as I record this. So lots going on to expand our capacity and bring on new clients, but also looking ahead to the future of the business and what the organizational structure of the business looks like long term. So lots and lots going on, but all extremely positive stuff, and everything that's happened has happened in such a good way over the summer. So of course, record months as well, back to back for the last few. So it's been extremely busy. Definitely not a time to rest on our laurels and get comfortable, though. This for me is the time where, we've got a bit of momentum, the time to really crack on. So that leads me into actually the 12-week year, which I'm going to be using. I have used it every quarter for the last couple of years to plan each 3-month or 12, 13-week segment of the year to ensure that I am consistently productive, consistently making progress, and quite frankly, getting more done than a lot of our competition without burning out in the process. This is designed in such a way that it's not going to absolutely destroy you. It is going to be, it's going to push you to work hard. Spoiler for later, work-life balance isn't a thing if you're ambitious. So it's going to push you to work hard, but it's going to make sure you're not working on the wrong things. You're always focused on a few key things that are actually going to move the needle in a business, and you're going to get a lot done in each quarter with a lot more clarity. Save yourself spending hours working on things that actually don't improve your life or the business. So I'm going to walk you through my 12-week year, how I achieve more in 12 weeks than most people do in 1 year, so that you can just copy it and do it yourself. I'm actually going to run you through an example as well. I'm going to show you how I build this out for myself, so that you can, if you want, you can do this alongside me and actually do this yourself as well. So I'm actually going to draw this out for you guys as I go through this and explain how the 12-week year works. So 12-week year, as I've said, is designed to help you get more done in 12 weeks than most people do in a year. So it's quite an intense sprint, if you like, that we're going to go on for 12 weeks. We're going to work really hard for 12 weeks, and then we're going to take a week at the end. So it's about 13 weeks all in all. We're going to take a week at the end to reset, rest, recover, plan the next quarter. Okay, so we've got 12 weeks in each quarter to the end of the year. And the way you want to start this is a very clear picture of what life looks like. What life looks like if you've been successful over the last quarter. What does life look like in 3 months' time? So I'm recording, we're about to head into October. It's the 1st of October when I record this, actually. So 3 months' time will be the start of 2026. What does success look like for you at the start of 2026? Like, what has to happen for you to say, yeah, I'm exactly where I want to be? All right, so you want to start with a clear picture. I'm going to use some very simple examples that relate to my business. They're not going to be exactly what I will actually have in my 12-week year, but it's going to be a pretty good picture of what it might look like. So one thing for me might be, we're sitting on 35 odd clients across the business at the moment. An ambitious, but I think achievable goal would be to have, let's say, 50 clients. So success for me is we have 50 clients across the business at an average retainer of 3K a month. Okay, so if we have 50 clients at 3K a month, that would be a pretty successful GBP. That would be a pretty successful next quarter for me from where we are, where we're maybe 35 odd clients. So that's where I want to get to, right? That's the kind of picture of where I want to be. It's quite specific. There's, I can very clearly measure whether I've achieved this or not, which is really important. If you go too vague with this, you're not actually going to be able to decide whether you've achieved the goal. And it's going to be really difficult to actually plan your tasks as well. So I want to get 50 clients at £3,000 a month. The next thing you want to think about is, right, what are the levers I can pull in order to achieve this? Okay, so this is the goal we've got. What are the key strings, I guess, that you can pull on in order to make this happen, right? Sure, there are thousands of things you could do to get to 50 clients at £3,000 a month. But what are the 3 to 5 biggest levers that you can pull in order to get there? So for me, with this specific goal, what we're essentially looking at is, how do we get in front of more people? How do we turn more of those people into clients? And how do we keep more of the clients that we've currently got? If we do those 3 things, it's likely that we're going to get to 50 clients, right? If we execute those 3 things well. Because let's reverse it, use inverse reasoning here. Let's say we didn't get in front of any new people. Well, it's impossible to sign new clients, and we need to sign new clients in order to get from 35 to 50. We could get in front of people, but we could not convert any of them, in which case we'd still be stuck in the same position. We wouldn't get from 35 to 50. But equally, we could do those two things, and we can get in front of millions and millions of people, and we could sign 60 clients, but we could lose 70, right? And we go backwards. So those are the three big levers we can pull in order to achieve this goal. So I'm going to write those out. It's basically traffic, right? So how many people see us and know we exist. It's conversion rate. So how many of those people do we turn into clients? So CVR, conversion rate. And then it's retention. How many of those clients do we actually keep on board? How many of those clients are still with us in 3 months' time? Those are the three big levers that we can pull, right, in this specific example. So what I would do now is I would get really specific about the goals we want to achieve around these levers. So I know these are the three things I'm going to be working on, but what specifically do I need to achieve with each of these? This is where having past data is really, really useful. And if you're running a business and not tracking your numbers right now, is the number one thing you've got to start doing, because this is going to give you much more predictability and accuracy around how you're planning the next quarter. So fortunately, we're very good at tracking our numbers, and I have a lot of these numbers that I can use to inform the goals I need to hit. So in the last quarter, we reached about 2 million people. Traffic, so 2 million views across all channels. That's content we published, that's Google search results, ads. We reached about 2 million people. It's probably slightly higher because there's a few things that we don't track, like team content. We don't track all of the team's content they publish, but about 2 million views, right? So even if we're conservative, let's say we reach 2 million people. And we actually signed 15 clients. I was just looking at the numbers now. We actually signed 15 clients in the last quarter, which is exactly what we need to hit 50. We probably want to sign a little bit more because we're going to account for a little bit of retention. So let's say we want to try and sign 20 clients. I can now run the numbers on the sort of traffic I'd want to reach if I had to sign 15 clients and get from 35 to 50. So certainly I want to be reaching at least 2 million people. Let's say we want to have maybe a 50% increase in the traffic we reach. I'm going to say, I want to reach 3 million people. And I know if I reach 3 million people, there's a good chance that I'm getting enough volume of people into our ecosystem to convert 15 to 20 clients. If we went 50% increase in the clients we signed, we'd have 22 and a half clients, right? So I'm going to set that as a very specific goal. On traffic specifically, I want to reach 3 million people. I'm actually going to put reach 3 million people. So that's my goal. And then I'm going to list out a couple of things that I could do in order to achieve that. And we're going to come back to that in a minute. The next one is conversion rate. So how many of those people are we actually converting into clients? So because we tracked our numbers, I know that 15.85% of people that become a lead for Kurogo will end up being a client of some form. And a lead for Kurogo being they've booked a discovery call with us. Our sales process is typically discovery and then an accelerator session, or basically a proposal, and then people will become a client or not. And I know that 15.85% of people over the last quarter that booked in a discovery call went on to become a client. Okay, that's not proposal to sale rate, that's discovery to sale rate, it's pretty good, right? Given that some people don't show up to discoveries, some people will be disqualified at that stage, some people will obviously go to proposal and then not convert. So we have about 16% conversion rate. All I want to do this quarter is I just want to improve that. Okay, I want to take that 15.85% and see if I can get it to 20. Because now two things are happening. If I reach my goal of 3 million people, which is a 50% increase from the last quarter, and I reach my goal of a small increase of, just over 4% in conversion rate, then I'm probably going to sign enough clients, all other things being equal, to hit my goal. Okay, so I'm going to aim for a 20% lead to sale conversion rate. So everyone that becomes a lead, I want 20% of those, 1 in 5, to actually become a client in the future. And there are a number of things we could do in order to achieve that, right? And then we have the final one. So the final one is retention. Of course, we can sign all the clients in the world, but if we can't keep any of them, we're not actually going to hit our goal. It's going to be 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So retention is really, really important. And one of the things we'll be thinking about on retention is how can we increase the number of people that renew their contracts or stay with us compared to last quarter. So let me ask our head of client services, Jake, for some retention numbers. We actually had our highest ever retention in the last quarter. And that slight side note, is a symptom of directly rewarding the team for keeping clients on. So we had like really complicated retention systems previously. We just massively simplified it, and we were like to the team, look, if you keep a client on beyond their initial contract, you'll get a percentage of whatever they pay thereafter. So like they're directly incentivized to keep clients on. So that's massively helped. Okay, we had a net client gain of 7, which is the highest of each 6-month period in the last year. So we had a net client gain of 7. So all I'm going to put there is I want a net client gain of, let's say, 10. So that would be, we'll run some easier numbers. Well, 10's quite easy. It's about a 50% increase. It's just under a 50% increase. So let's say 50% increase in, what are we going to call this? It's net client gain, NGC. So basically, how do we keep more clients? That's essentially what this is. We're just putting a number there so that we can have a way of measuring whether we've succeeded. And then I'm going to list out all of the things that I could do in order to achieve this. So now I've got the end goal that I want to achieve, how I know I've had a successful quarter, the 3 big levers that I can pull to actually achieve that, which is going to keep me focused and save me doing hours and hours of things that don't actually move the needle, or maybe aren't the most effective ways to move the needle for this goal. And now I've got very specific targets across each of those levers. What I would do now is I'd probably list out absolutely everything I could do in order to achieve these. So reaching 3 million people, well, I could go door knocking. I could spend 10 hours a day going door knocking, offering personal branding. And, over the course of an hour, I might knock on 30 doors and have some conversations. I could publish 30 YouTube videos over the course of the next 3 months. It's very clear which of those is going to have more of an effect, right? So I would list out everything, but then you want to get really clear on the main things that are actually going to move the needle. And the best way to do this really is to look at what's worked previously. First of all, so we know, for example, that posting LinkedIn content is one of the best ways we can get in front of more people. So one of my specifics would be increase LinkedIn content output, or increase the quality or average views per post of LinkedIn content output. So you want to go through each of these goals and list out all the things that you could do in order to achieve that goal. Like, let's say 50% increase in net client gain. Well, if we wanted to keep more clients, we could just over deliver for every single one. It would probably work, but it wouldn't actually work for the business. Like, the clients would be really happy, right? But it would be extremely unsustainable and inefficient for us to do that. So we might pick, right, who are the most at-risk clients that we think aren't going to stay beyond this next 3-month period, and we might prioritize those. We might look at our highest value clients and think, yeah, those are the ones that we really want to focus on. If we look at increasing or getting a 20% lead to sale conversion rate, there are a few things we can do. We can improve the qualification of people that are actually able to book discovery calls so that they're more qualified and more likely to become a client. We could improve the messaging we send to them between discovery call and proposal calls. We could just get better at proposals and sales calls. We could train the team a lot better. We can improve our follow-up sequence. We could even launch new product lines to make the chance of conversion rate much higher. So there are a number of things that we can do on each of these, but you want to pick the core things that are going to have the biggest impact over the next 3 months. Okay, so I would list all of them out and then select the ones that you think are going to have the biggest impact. And it's very simple from here. What you then have is you've got your goal of where you want to be, you've got the levers you can pull and the specific targets for each of those levers, and you have a list of action items that if you complete, it would be unreasonable for you to not hit your targets. I think that's the frame here, is not just do what you think will work, do what you think would make it unreasonable for you to not achieve your targets. Like, you almost want to push your targets and try and overachieve your targets. Chances are you'll hit them if you do that. And that's going to give you a list of actionable items that you need to complete over the next 13 weeks. It's simply a case of putting those into your calendar or into your task management system. For me, I use something called ClickUp, but it really, like, whether you use ClickUp, Notion, whatever other task managers are out there, it doesn't really matter. You just need a way of tracking every single task that you need to complete over the next quarter. So what I would do is I would then select my final tasks, I put them into ClickUp for me or any task management software, and then I would look at my calendar over the next quarter and I'd plan every single week to make sure that those tasks get completed. And what you're doing there is you're taking the emotion out of achieving your goals. It simply becomes a case of stick to your calendar. Do what the calendar says, right? And at that point, you're acting based on the plan, not acting based on your feeling. And it's just a case of doing it. You just have to have the mental discipline to stick to your calendar and do the things that you've set out. Because you've been through all the planning already, you don't need to second guess this. You've been through all the planning and worked out that if you achieve these specific tasks across each of these 3 levers, it would be unreasonable for you to not succeed on your goal. So it really is simple to actually go away and achieve them. And look, you're going to work hard for the next quarter. It's going to be a sprint because this is going to help you get more done in the next 12 weeks than most people will do in the whole year. But at the end of the quarter, you're going to take a week off and reward yourself for the hard work you've done. And that's how I do it every quarter. Very, very simple, but it works. I guess one caveat that's worth putting on this is we all have different things going on in our lives, right? We'll have other priorities that often compete with work as well. You know, maybe you're listening to this and you've got a family, you've got to raise kids, maybe you've got to go to school or college or whatever, and you've got that going on as well. You want to put those building blocks in your calendar before you put your tasks in. Like the non-negotiables for you, right? Like if a non-negotiable for you is you eat dinner with your family every day, or you train, like you go to the gym for an hour every morning, stick that in your calendar first, and then you want to plan your tasks in around that. And that's how you're going to maintain your life and not basically burn out, but also make sure you're constantly improving, constantly making progress as well, and constantly progressing. And that actually leads me quite nicely onto some of the questions that we've had come in this week and some rapid fire agree, disagree. So one of the ones we've had is, does work-life balance exist? Actually I wouldn't say it was a debate, but my girlfriend was talking to me about this, and I was like, you know what? No, I actually don't think work-life balance exists for the ambitious person. If you want to achieve anything significant, forget the idea of work-life balance. It's quite frankly an excuse for mediocrity. For the average person, right? Most of the population, work-life balance should be a thing. Like most people, sounds savage, most people aren't ambitious, most people are not achieving huge things, and work-life balance for them is fantastic. Like sure, do it. But if you have any ounce of ambition, you want to achieve something big in your life, you can't be balanced, right? like it just takes more than that, right? It's if you could have work-life balance and still achieve significant things, well, everyone would be ridiculously successful. It's just not possible. And best believe that the next person, the person that you're competing with, is not balanced at all. They're going all in on the thing they want to achieve. You know, it takes sacrifice to achieve successful things. So if you're trying to be balanced in the pursuit of something pretty significant, forget it. Another one we had is, can you have a partner and a business? Well, from my point of view, yes. I've been in a relationship for 10 years, nearly 11 years, I think. I hope I haven't overcooked that. Certainly 10 years I've been in a relationship and didn't have a business at the start of the relationship, but have built the business through the entire relationship. And my partner's actually been very, very supportive in the entire process, has actually made the entire process a lot easier. There have been times where, of course, it's challenging. You know, you're not seeing them as frequently as you wanted to. You have to pull out of certain events, dates, whatever. Yeah, that happens. But I think if you find the right partner, they'll be extremely supportive of that. And certainly with me and my partner, we both know that the work that's going in now and the sacrifice that's happening now is for a better future for us and the family and kids and whatever. So yeah, I think you definitely can. The challenge a lot of people have is finding a partner that's mature enough to understand that sacrifice needs to be made now. So I don't think it's the case that you can't have a partner. It's just finding the right partner for an entrepreneur is extremely difficult. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs who have struggled to find that partner. So I don't think it's impossible, no, but sure, it's hard to find the right person. And that goes both ways, whether you're male or female, whether you're in a homosexual or heterosexual relationship. I think it goes both ways. And then the final one is the great lock-in cringe. The great lock-in, everyone's talking about this at the moment. The winter arc, summer's done, everyone's sick of going out partying, and they've realized that they actually need to achieve some shit in their lives. So the great lock-in is happening. Everyone's getting dialed in. They're going to be going to the gym. They're waking up early. They're going to the gym. They're doing the morning ritual. They're working hard. I think it's a little bit cringe. But to be fair, I don't mind it if it gets people conscious about improving themselves and achieving their goals, right? If you need this idea of the great lock-in to focus and get some discipline, then great. But to be honest, we were never locked out, right? Like you should have been locked in anyway. So I think it is a little bit cringe. I imagine most of the people that post about the great lock-in on Instagram won't be locked in a month's time, or they'll get distracted or they'll give up. But that's great for successful people, ambitious people like you and I, right? Because it means there's less competition. Whenever someone else gives up, it's less competition for us. So, I don't mind it. If people need that to succeed, then great. I'll be working hard, focused, of course, but I think a lot of people will actually give up on this great lock-in pretty quickly. And then final few things. We've actually had a few questions coming in this week. So some of the questions we've had, if you had 10K to spend on growing a business, where would you put it? Easy one. on my own self-development, I believe the best investment you can make is in yourself, because when you invest in yourself, you control the returns. So I wouldn't spend it on like ads or hiring anyone. I would spend it on myself to upskill. When you are just getting started, the single biggest barrier to succeeding is your own skill set. Actually, in a few interviews back, Sean Hanif, the founder of Genflow, was talking about revenue ceilings or skill ceilings. And he, even at $100 million agency, he's saying we don't hit revenue ceilings, we hit skill ceilings. You get to the point where you don't have the skill set to get to the next level. And if he's thinking about that at $100 million, you should be thinking about that when you're just starting. So I would take that 10K, I would 100% invest in self-development. Learn, obviously it will be very specific to you depending on what business you're building, but learn the core fundamentals. I would probably learn sales. That would be a good thing to invest in, to learn sales. I would invest in upgrading my identity and my mindset. I would probably invest in my network to improve the opportunities I was able to get. So invest in self-development for sure. Next one, do you need a big following to sign clients? Absolutely not. Again, link back to the Sean episode. He shared something on this. This is how he signed some of the biggest creators in the world, despite not having a huge following himself, or even in the early days when he was just getting started. People don't necessarily care about following that much. It is, I guess, a bit of a stamp of credibility if you have somewhat of a following, but that doesn't mean you can't sign clients without it. Really, what people care about is expertise. So if you've got no following, you don't even have loads and loads of case studies or results to use, you want to lean heavily on your expertise and your skill set, and you almost need to deliver strategy or free work to people to get them on board and to get them to go, shit, this guy or girl really knows what they're talking about. The final one, if you lost everything tomorrow, how would you rebuild? Well, connected to the last question, I would rebuild pretty much how I did build. I would go out to influential people within the industries that I wanted to reach. So pick the 5 to 10 biggest names in the industry you want to get into, or you want to like infiltrate, or where your target audience are. And I would offer to do free work for them. I would do a month of free work. I'd say, hey, look, I'm just getting started, but I've noticed this problem that you're having, and I think I could solve it by doing this. Here's how we would do it. I would love to do this for you for free, no cost, no risk at all, for the next month. And look, if you're getting results and you like it, maybe after a month we can talk about a paid ongoing arrangement. I would do that to 5 to 10 people. 1 to 3 of them is going to say yes. And if they don't, you just have to keep doing it, because eventually someone will say yes. And then you have to deliver on that. Deliver great work for them. Put all your time, focus, and attention onto delivering amazing work for them. And after the end of the month, well, a couple of things are going to happen. They're going to want to work with you on an ongoing basis, and you're actually going to have your first paying client. They're going to pay you. But you're going to have a case study, more importantly, from one of the most significant and influential people in the industry you want to get into. And do you think it would be easier to then go on and sign more clients with that case study? Absolutely it would be. So that's how I'd do it if I had to start tomorrow. And guys, that wraps us up for today. Hope you enjoyed this solo episode. We're thinking of doing more of these solo episodes. So if you did enjoy this, let me know in the comments if you liked it, what you liked most about it, what you want me to cover in solo episodes in the future, because keen to get your feedback. Obviously, this podcast is all about bringing insights to you guys. So let me know in the comments what you found useful. And of course, if you did enjoy the episode, make sure you subscribe, send it to a friend, and share the pod.